the episode 3. And, I'm doing this one alone. Just seeing how that goes, just giving that a try. I don't think today's going to be a particularly long podcast. But, hey, I'm going to try my best. Just been a bit low on guests, and, I don't want to keep using the same ones over and over again. But I might have to, so we'll just see how this one goes. The feedback on this video, if people like the solo ones, and I'll do these a bit. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Alright, so interesting things have been happening. I've noticed that private schools have been doing a lot of online schooling, but I'm not too sure about government schools. And I mean, me as a student, I'm obviously okay with that because, who needs school, dude? I fucking hate that shit. It's just lame. But, I mean, if I'm being, sensible, then obviously school's gonna be hella important. And, I'm not sure whether government schools are implementing a online program, but apparently they are. Apparently on the 14th of April. When this thing ends, because apparently people are saying that we're not going to go back to school immediately. I'm not sure how true that is, but I know on the 14th of April, apparently they're going to try do some online schooling for us. I mean, some schools I know have already sent out the syllabus and stuff and what to do, I guess. And I guess we're only going to find out in the days to come how serious this all is with the schoolwork and stuff. But yeah, that's what's been happening with public schools, at least. And interesting stuff's been happening. So I was sitting alone last night, and I didn't do a podcast on Wednesday because I tried to do one with one of my mates, and we tried to do it just via call, and that did not go well. The quality was too bad, and it kept skipping. So that's off the table, unfortunately. But yeah, so I was sitting last night, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder how much the world is going to change from this. In the sense that, do you think now that everyone's so aware of how things like germs can spread so quickly, I reckon when we come out of this, people are just going to be not nearly as intimate with each other almost. When you see your boys, you're not going to go there and be away, give them a hug or whatever. I don't know. I think a lot of the world is going to be a lot more cautious. I think if this thing has taught us anything, it's been to be cautious. I know I'm not going to do that. I'm going to carry on as normal after all of this. Call me irresponsible or whatever, but I just, that's what I'm just going to do. But, I think a lot of the, especially older people here, I think they're going to be, a lot more cautious. And, I believe that America has taken over the most cases. They now have the most cases of this disease. But, that's probably just because Trump was, Trump basically didn't take this seriously because he wanted, he made a statement because he didn't put anyone on lockdown when, they first found out. And he made a statement it's all going to blow over, basically, and everyone's going to be back in, churches by Easter. Those were his words. And I think it just shows, negligence, and I think it shows how good our president was. Cyril. Yes, he did a good one, guys. We can't deny, he did a good job. He put us in quarantine quite quick. I think we've kind of nipped it in the bud, to be honest. And so I've got to give him props for that. I've been meaning to actually say that for a while now, but I got to give him props for that. Because we're already a country in crisis, I believe. And now he handled it well. You've got to give props to him and the government for this one. So I got some feedback on the last podcast I did with my sister and her friend Trinity. And some of the things were saying This one, I'm not gonna like mention names. I don't think I should. Even though like it's not bad or anything, I just don't think I should be. So this one of my sister's friends hit me up and they were like, "Can you just go over the DMT thing again?" So sure. So I'm gonna do that here. So DMT is basically like it's a chemical that in your brain. Okay, that's where they discovered it. And DMT stands for dimethyltryptamine, right? And over more research, scientists have found out that everything living on the planet contains a DMT molecule. Okay, so it's the only one thing that links everything alive on the planet. All living things contain DMT. And obviously leave it to humans to find a way to fucking inhale it or something. And so people made a synthetic version of it. And basically it's a psychedelic that can, it's a very intense psychedelic. So when people normally take psychedelics, they're still lucid in a sense. They're just like the world around them is changing. But with DMT, it's very different because you're not even lucid. Like with people who don't understand what I'm saying is that you could be in a room and take DMT and you won't even know you're in the room anymore because you'll just see like patterns and stuff. Like it's literally just patterns. And there's lots of like feelings behind it and obviously like the emotional stuff and like the feeling of it itself is it's all very intense. And it's crazy. It's very crazy. And then you get another version of it, called the Toad. So I discovered the Toad through well, what it was at least was through Mike Tyson. So Mike Tyson talks about it a lot in his podcast, which I listen to. So I definitely go give that a look. Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. I think it's great. And the Toad is basically in the Saharan desert. 2 months of the year, when it rains, there is a exotic toad that comes out, and if you like lick the back of the toad or whatever, it releases DMT but with an extra oxygen molecule attached to it. So it's like almost like a completely different thing. It's still an insane psychedelic, but like the feelings and the hallucinations you see, but it's a lot more intense. Like the toad is crazy. Apparently, I've heard things like you can go insane, and I can fully understand how people go insane on psychedelics because it's just crazy. It's like I think how it looks. You look at it like this because I think when you take psychedelics, you hallucinate, but not in the sense of what people think. I think is a misconception. I don't think you see like, oh, people standing in your room or whatever, things that aren't already there. But no, I think it's more like things are there, but they're very different. Like walls will start to like melt or like breathe in on you or something. Or maybe you'll hallucinate to the point where like you see things, but it's not like so solid that it looks real. It's almost like crazy. So you'll see like shadow people run across the room and stuff. I think that's what it's like. So I can imagine when you're on DMT or something, it's so crazy, man. That must be crazy. Just must be crazy. Yeah, and so that's basically DMT re-explained. Yeah, I mean, fucking hell. It'd be the craziest thing ever, really. You just imagine. But anyways, just to elaborate on another point for it, it is, apparently, during the one, because in the 70s, the US government went on a huge, psychedelic ban, right? Because they banned a lot of other drugs. But apparently they hadn't really like banned a lot of psychedelics. Like I believe LSD was like the only one really banned. Okay. And so I've done a bit of research on this. And when they banned all this stuff, they banned the chemical compound. So like you know how DMT is dimethyltryptamine, so those are the chemicals in it, right? So they banned that. But then people in labs started to modify it. So like they added like an extra molecule to it, and then it's a completely different drug, and it wasn't banned. Like salvia, for example. Salvia wasn't banned. You could literally buy salvia from a pharmaceutical company. So yeah, in like even in the early 2000s apparently. And it's just crazy to think about because it just shows how scary that world is, I guess. The whole world of substances and drugs and stuff. Like, it's really scary because it just shows how you can change one thing and then suddenly it's not the same. Like, it just shows how much there actually is. And it's madness, man. It's a really scary, like, rabbit hole, I guess, just to go down. But, yeah, so we've all been stuck in isolation, I think. And I don't know about you guys, but I've officially run out of things to do. Sure, there's video games. I've already getting into Rainbow Six Siege, I guess, on my PC. That's a great game. I like it a lot. But I miss certain things here. Like, I can't wait. It's gonna be so crazy when quarantine's over, and like, you go out for the first time. I feel like it's just gonna be such a surreal experience. You're gonna walk out and be like, yo, I know that person, or like, damn, people used to line up from KFC. Like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go to KFC and get myself a huge ass bucket. That's facts. And just seeing your friends again, I think that's gonna be cool. I'm really looking forward to that.
Josh Cars check.
But yeah, it's just, thinking about like the world. How much is the world gonna change from this? So I think there's two ways of looking at it, right? I think you look at it as if, like, okay, it might be changed for a little bit, like the first 2 months after quarantine or 3 months, but eventually people are going to go back to normal because that's just what people do, right? Or you're going to look at this as like a global scare and things are never going to be like the same. Like, online shopping is going to become such a bigger industry and, like, people are just going to, like, order their stuff online and just be a lot more less sociable. And that's crazy to think about, I think, because, like, imagine a world where, like, no one goes to shops anymore, or like no one shakes hands. Like, imagine, like, handshakes weren't a thing anymore. Like, you meet someone, you shake their hand, just because of this virus that went around and, like, a global pandemic. And this is the first time this is apparently the first time in world history where governments and stuff have started to, like, lock down, like, proper quarantine, it's against the law to leave your house. First time in world history. We got to think about that. We're literally living in history. Like, this is something that will be spoken about, I think, for quite a while. Yeah, and to me, it's just madness to think about. Also, I've been looking into some conspiracy theories for the podcasts in general, because I quite like talking about these. I don't believe most of them, but I'm open to, like, other forms of thinking, and I always enjoy them. But there's one, like, I've been hearing this a lot recently, and it's the New World Order one. So for those who don't know what the New World Order is, it's basically, like, people believe that there is a higher society that actually runs, like, the world, and they're actually in control of all the governments and stuff, and they tell them what to do. And I went into this one a bit in my other podcast, but JFK basically spoke about it a lot. Like, just before his assassination, he spoke about how there are groups of tightly knit elite members that are like army generals, like high up army generals, and doctors and businessmen, and even some, like, political members, and they actually, like, run the world proper. And this all links in because every 100 years, so all the way back to the 1720, there was the Black Plague, right? Then 1820, there was cholera or swine flu, one of those two. Then in the 1920s, there was, I think, cholera or swine flu. It was one of those two in the 1820s and the 1920s. And in the 1620s, there was the Spanish flu. So it seems like every 100 years, there is there's like a new pandemic. And people are saying now that, like, yeah, this is just the start of the end, you know what I mean? And that there's going to be so much more, like, the people think that this was, number one, synthetically made, this virus. Number two, people think that the New World Order, like, created it, and they're using it to put the world in scare and to basically ease everyone into it slowly. And that, like, sometime in the near future, most likely in our lifetimes for the teens, that they're going to be like, okay, this is what it's been like for the past couple 100 years. We're now just coming public, and yeah, the world's going to change a bit. Like, you know, no more individuality and stuff like that. I mean, do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. I think there's too much. We have like too little evidence of it, because the world is quite, you know, everything's connected. We're in an age of modernization, right? And it's just crazy to think about that there's possibility that there's so much we don't know, because we only know what we know. Like, if we're being real here, you know, there could be stuff like werewolves and all that stuff running around, and we wouldn't know if we didn't have solid proof. We wouldn't actually know. So there could be something like a New World Order around. And do I think that's true? Not necessarily. I don't necessarily think there's something like a New World Order, but I know a lot of people who do. And the points they come up with make a lot of sense when they speak about it. And you know, it's also, it doesn't support the fact, like, if you're against the whole New World Order thing, you think it's not true. It doesn't, like, people coming, like, high-ranking officials, government officials coming forward about it, that doesn't really help their case. So you just got to think about that. And yeah, like I said, people think that that this is the future. That the future is literally a New World Order that we can't stop. And that our world is going to change forever. That'd be the craziest thing ever, man. That'd be crazy to think about. And I mean, but a big argument of why they think it is because the reasoning for banning psychedelics, right? I'm just going to go back here for a bit, because this all links in. Just trust me, like, it might be a bit tedious, but this is all going to link in. You got to look at why they banned psychedelics. Okay, because if we look at the statistics, okay, psychedelics causes no physical harm. You can't overdose, right? Necessarily. You can't overdose. Like, you can't take too much where, like, it stops your heart or something. Okay? So you gotta look at it, okay, if it's like, healthy-ish, why did they ban it? Right? And, number, I don't condone the use of any substances. That's not what I'm trying to get to. I'm just looking into it on a different opinion. On, like, an objective opinion, right? I'm just going to look at the facts. So, there's no, like, health, negative health connotations attached to it. Like, you can't take so much that you die, but you can, like, go insane. So I can see why they ban it, because if you take too much of, like, certain psychedelics, you'll lose your mind, right? That's a fact. I think that's real. That's 100% a thing. And, however, you gotta look at why they, but they could have rationed it, be like, okay, like with alcohol, you know, alcohol is a way more destructive substance than most drugs, actually, like weed and most psychedelics, because it's crazy. It destroys your liver, it destroys your body, all that stuff. And it makes you extremely aggressive sometimes, and, you know, no one likes that. But that's legal, and so is cigarettes. But you gotta look at why that's legal, because that makes so much money. The alcohol and tobacco industry make so much money, right? And but that's just because it's been established for so long. Like, it's been an established industry for hundreds of years. Whereas things like marijuana and cannabis is not an established industry. So rather than trying to take control over it, they're going like, let's just rather ban it and make it like so no one can have it. Okay, because if we can't make money off it, why should anyone? Now that's slowly starting to change. But now back to psychedelics. You gotta think, if you could ration it and give it to people, why don't you want them to have it? Like, why is it illegal then? And maybe, and this is a theory I've heard, is that it's because it, like, wakes you from your sleep. So, I don't know about you guys, but I've been seeing lots of these Gaia adverts on YouTube. And the one is like, psychedelics have taken us out of a state of almost sleep, is the exact quote, right? And you got to think, like, the way they explain it in those adverts that you see, like, if you actually watch the whole 2 minutes or something, it basically explains, like, how, now for those people who have taken psychedelics can most likely agree, the fact that you kind of, once you take them, your understanding of the universe and your life changes, right? And some people go like, it's such a stupid idea how there's a government, and it's like so stupid how there's wars and stuff. And it goes like that. So you gotta wonder, you know, if something can wake you up, in quotation marks, right, from how the world works, if everyone took them, then no one would agree with how the world works, and then governments would fall and all that stuff. So people think that's why they made it illegal, because it wakes you up, and they don't want you woken up, because the dumber you are, the easier you are to manipulate. Correct? So, if you are like, if you live like a white picket fence life, okay, and you just, like, everything that comes on the news, you believe, like, okay, the government says this, you're like, all right, I believe that, then you're living most likely a happy life, a financially safe life, and all that stuff. But then people argue that you're extremely subjective, like I said, no matter what the government says or stuff, you will listen to them. And that's what they want. At the end of the day, they want control. So, but people who take psychedelics and stuff often, they kind of go, oh, that's not how I think it should work. And then they start to spread their own opinion, and then maybe they don't listen to the government as much, and that's not what the government wants, right? Like these conspiracy theorists and so everyone marks him as crazy. Like, oh, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy, dude. Like, how the hell can you believe that? But do we just think they're crazy because, okay, just before I get into this, some of them are completely crazy. Some of them are pretty damn stupid, okay? But some of them are not so much, and you got to think, like, do we just call them crazy because that's what we've been told? Like media sources that are, like, run by governments and stuff, they've all told us, like, how crazy they are, and that's just been, like, synced into our like, minds, that conspiracy theorists, like, it's out of the world, it's not true. You know, it's an alternate theory of what's actually right. So you gotta look at it as if, like, okay, what if they are right, and everything we've been fed is a lie? Then we basically fall under that spell of, like, okay, sure, they were all right, and everything we understand of the world is wrong, and there is a new world order, and, you know, the moon landing was fake and all that nonsense. Now, then obviously your head turns to the government and be like, you either got it so wrong, like, you gotta look to the government after that and be like, okay, you either lied to us for some reason, and that reason is most likely because they wanted to keep us dumb, so we're easier to manipulate to get, like, votes and stuff and to stay in control. Or, I don't think this would be the thing, I don't think that this would be the reason, they got it wrong, and they admit to their states. I highly doubt that's the reason, because that's just not really possible. But, you know, it literally could be, it could be like that. So the reason I like conspiracy theories is, although I don't believe most of them, it's interesting to see, I find it interesting to see why people think like that. And more importantly, why they're against, like, the establishment, like anti-establishment and all that stuff. And sure, some of them are crazy and some of them are doing it for attention and whatever. But I don't think all of them. I think all of them have genuinely found, like, evidence and are just trying to expose the government and stuff. And expose these lies that we've been fed. Like, a good one, Alex Jones, right? So most of us know Alex Jones. If you don't, he was one talking about turning the frickin' frogs gay. So that's Alex Jones. He has a news source called Infowars, and that's basically where he gets people on who are like top grade scientists and all that stuff to talk about what's actually going on. And he does his own detective work. He has his own private detective team that goes and finds out what was like covered up or what's a lie. And sure, people call him crazy because of his like demeanor and stuff, and lots of stuff that he says I don't particularly agree with. But there is some stuff that he said though that has actually proven to be true. Like I believe in the early 2010, so like 2013, 2014, maybe even 2015, he found out that somewhere in some county in like America, so some state, sorry, not county, in America, like they're like campaigning for late-term abortions, and that one of the Senate members has like agreed for a certain state to take already live babies that have been given birth and are not wanted by their parents and harvest their organs. Okay, now that sounds madness. We were like, what the hell? That's no ways that's a thing. And I was like, there's no ways that's a thing. I was like, not a fucking chance. But then he proved it. Like, in 2018, 2019, after like 3-4 years of research, it was true that a Senate had said that this is fine, you can do this, and that numerous of these operations actually did go. And then their excuse was, oh, but it's for in the name of science, you know? Like, you got to do it because they weren't wanted and they were going to be aborted anyways. So let's just rather use them for their organs and stuff and to like do research. And I can see where they come from on that. You know, but a lot of people don't agree with that. And you got to wonder why they didn't make those files public. Like, why did everyone not know about it? And it's because they literally tried to hide it. So they knew what they were doing was not necessarily wrong, but they knew what they were doing was controversial, and they still try to hide it. So you got to wonder now, like, what else don't we know? You know, and it's crazy. This world, we live in a very interesting world, I think, and I think we live in a very exciting world, because, let's be real, there's never a dull day. There's never a dull day, because, you know, everyone kind of knows, like, you always hear something new, like, oh, you know, whether it's like a conspiracy theory or something on sports happens. I mean, yeah, like, for example, I slightly follow NFL, right? I mean, NBA. But it's not even in my country, and I still follow it. So, you know, it's just because the world's so connected with things like social media and all that stuff that I literally still, I follow a sport that I can't participate in and that my country does not offer. That's crazy. Just thinking about that. Like, something that I can't even watch on TV. I can't watch the sport, right, on my TV. My schools, government schools don't offer it as a sport. It's not even on the same continent the sport is celebrated or practiced, and it's not popular. But I follow it on my phone or social media, and it's of interest to me. And that's just crazy how connected the world is, you know? And we live in a time of, like, information overload, you know? And because people go like, oh, you know, the world was so much simpler back in the 1900s. I don't know about that. I still think the same amount of problems came, but people just didn't know about them as much. Like, when you were in South Africa in, like, the 1950s or 60s, you know, you didn't know what was happening. Like, you didn't know what was happening in other countries all over the world. Sure, it was in the news sometimes, but you didn't really know as much as we do today. And, you know, equally messed up stuff could be happening all the time. We just wouldn't know about it as much. But now I think it's just like, I think the world's been like this for a long time where, you know, it's all bad and it's all doom and gloom. It's just we're only seeing more of it now due to our accessibility to it. Right? I mean, like, I follow Donald Trump on Instagram, but I'm not even American. I'm not even an American citizen. I follow him literally to see what he says and what's going to happen to his country. A country that I have no involvement in. Right? It's just crazy to think about. Like, kids, like our parents, when they were our age, never did that. Well, why would they care? You know, it's whatever. You care about what's happening in your country and what's happening in your news. And sure, if something big happened around the world, you'd be like, okay, that's interesting. But not, like, the world is just so finely intricate now. And everyone, you know, something can happen on the other side of the world. And if it goes viral, the whole world knows about it. The entire planet. That's madness. Yeah. It's crazy. Alright, and what else did I write down? Yeah, sorry, I had to write down points because doing the solo is not as... Actually, I thought it would be more difficult. I don't even know if I'm making sense. But anyways. Oh, so I've been thinking of things to do during quarantine. And because I was speaking to my mate Christopher about this yesterday. And we're like, if this has to be extended, people are going to go crazy. Like, can you imagine if they extended this to 3 months, 90 days? Being in your house, that's it. You have to find something to do. So I've come like with a few things for you guys just to do if you're interested, such as, you can learn to play an instrument. I've kind of trying to learn how to play guitar. So just not like play it, but just like learn like a song or two. There's obviously exercise. If you can exercise at home, with or without equipment, you know, definitely do that. I mean, there's literally nothing else to do, right? You might as well. I think maybe learning how to cook is a good time for this. Like, I mean, if you're in your early 20s and stuff, and you're thinking of starting a family, I think now's a great time to learn how to, you know, to do basic things like cook a few home meals, learn how to like wash clothes if you don't know how to, or whatever. Just learn how to do basic household stuff to prepare yourself, you know. But obviously, you know, no one really wants to hear that. That's all boring stuff. So there's lots of other stuff. I think
Sorry.
maybe, so there's an app called House Party. Yeah, I know people are doing that, so you can just like sit on with your friends and talk FaceTime for a bit, you know. I think that's great. I like the idea of that, to be honest. Also, video games, that's been a great relief. I started a podcast during this, and I'm really enjoying it, like recording and stuff. I think it's fun. I enjoy giving out my opinions, so if you want to do that, that's great. Maybe starting a YouTube channel, or, you know, learning a new skill, like maybe you can learn how to sew or knit, although that's extremely boring. And maybe you can even build stuff. Like go into your garage, just see what's there, you know? Like, that never hurt anyone. Go into your garage, get a bunch of stuff, like just make something, just to cure the boredom. And sure, it might not be the coolest thing you make, but you'll most likely learn something. Watch something on Netflix, a series. There's lots of online courses I've been seeing, like free ones. So there's something called Show Academy. And I think that's a great thing to do. Which is, basically, it's online school, but you get 4 weeks free. So you get 4 weeks free, and you can take courses in, like, social media marketing and investing in financial, literacy, and, there's lots of other courses on there, like, networking and, web design and all that stuff. And I think that's great, even though it's also free. So there's no harm in trying that. Yeah. I personally went into I took a look at the, investing and finance one. And a big thing they spoke about was like what to invest in now. Because obviously, like, economies are not doing too great, especially South Africa's. Like, we're at an all-time low with our currency. But apparently, now is a good time to invest in certain industries. So they're saying, like, you need to read the market almost and see, like, okay, when all of this is over, what industry is going to come back hard, right? Tourism industry. I think that's going to come back hard. Everyone's been sitting on their asses for a couple months. Everyone wants to go and just get back out in the world. So that's a good thing, because now that it's a low industry, like their prices to invest will be low, and then it'll just grow. That's a good one to invest in. And there's lots of others. But yeah, like oil. I mean, petrol and stuff. That's gone down significantly. Like, the oil price dropped a lot. I don't know why that is, but I know it did. Yeah, so maybe you could even look in, like, online investing and stuff. But I think it's good just to stay tuned. Like, I don't think you should just slack around, because come on, man. What the hell? Just do something. Yeah. I need to figure out a way to maybe get people on calls. I mean, looking at software on my computer to like go into Discord and then just record it there. So I've been looking into that. So this will most likely be the only solo podcast. But hey, it's already been 36 minutes. That's not bad. I think I'm going to end it here. I'm very sorry if this wasn't a good one. I tried just, it's quite difficult to speak alone, I guess. But I hope you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed the podcast, like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. We are also now on Anchor. So if you want to listen to the podcast on the go, definitely go download that app and give us a follow there. If you like it and you want to hear more, then just write down in the comments what you think. If you got any ideas, I'm always open to listen. And we have an Instagram page, QuaranTeen Podcast, capital Q, capital T. And go give that a follow. Also share amongst your friends and see if they enjoy it, because they might. I understand this might not be for everyone, but I'm just doing it for fun. So if you enjoy that, yeah. Thank you guys very much. I've received quite a lot of support actually with this, so I'm very thankful for all my viewers, I guess, even though I don't have much. But I expected there to be a bit more hate, I guess, in the beginning. But no, I'm very thankful. You guys have been great. Thank you very much for listening. This is episode 3.